Hey guys, this is Lucas Grandsire coming at you with this latest video. We just had UFC 246 go by this past weekend. Great event, great fights for the most part, great main event. But there was something that I wanted to talk about, and I feel like I need to make a video about it, discuss it a little bit more in depth, and be honest with you, something that I had a real problem with, and this relates to Robbie Fox and Barstool Sports. I mean, I don't want to be, calling anyone out or anything, but you know what? Let's not mince words. Let's not sit there and pretend like, sugarcoat anything. So a video recently came out of him on Saturday. He did a live reaction, which we're going to see real quick. There you go. That was the live reaction video that he made. So on, the video in itself, I mean, I don't have a problem with it, right? Like the idea is good. You're gonna make some kind of content like that, get your reaction to a fight and everything, good stuff. However, where I draw the line, where I have a problem, is that this is a credentialed journalist that's out there covering the fight as part of the MMA media, and unfortunately, this is behavior that is unacceptable for someone that's covering the sport. And I put something on Twitter about it, and I got a little bit of pushback from fans. I got a lot of agreement from journalists. So I know fans are probably a little bit confused, just kind of wondering what the problem is. Like, I had some guys tell me, well, to be fair, this guy is, that's his gimmick, right? The Conor McGregor fanboy. I was told, like, oh, well, don't think he's credentialed, he's credible, or, oh, he works for Barstool. I don't care about any of that, man. I don't care about any of that. I'm not looking for excuses. I'm here to talk about the facts. And the facts is, when you're at a UFC event and you have a credential from the UFC, you are absolutely media that is covering an event for the UFC. And you're covering this for Barstool Sports. And this isn't a thing against anybody. I'm not making this video because I'm coming after anyone. I mean, it's not personal. But, we get on fighters all the time when, there are behaviors we disagree with and things that we feel are unprofessional, blah, blah. I mean, look at Fight Week. We talked about Cowboy Cerrone. I know people saying, calling him out for racism, homophobia stuff. Conor McGregor, everybody coming after him for the sexual assault and everything. So when a journalist does something wrong, something unprofessional, something that makes us all look bad, I feel like it's our job to call him out too, not just fighters. So what's unprofessional about the video? It's the fact that he's openly rooting for a fighter. He's sitting there in press row and he's rooting for a fighter openly, and I get that's the gimmick, but you know what? It's wrong, and it's also not allowed. When you get credentials from the UFC, you get a set of sort of guidelines that kind of tell you what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. And so when I posted on Twitter, Amy Kaplan was one of the people that replied, and she basically took a screenshot of that rule and replied on Twitter. So shout out to Amy Kaplan of Fansided. So here's the rule. It is rule number 16. I'll read it out to you guys. It's not, these are the exact words, the exact quote. Public display of partisanship, including without limitation cheering for or against any athlete, by bearer are strictly prohibited. Bearer is expected to remain objective and report objectively about individual UFC fights and overall events. So there you go. The rule also states that you need to dress professionally and you need to wear clothes that don't represent a fighter or anything like that. So basically what's the rule saying? You have to be unbiased. And if just keep in mind, because I know it gets confusing to some guys, if you are an MMA fan, that's exactly what you are. You're a fan, man. So you got favorite fighters, got guys that you're rooting for. You're watching a fight at the event with beer, pizza, whatever. That's totally cool, man. I'm not sitting here about to tell fans what to do, man. Like, you're a fan of the sport, man. That's awesome. I mean, that's I feel like most media, that's what we were before we started covering the sport. But as someone that covers the sport, I'm very young. I was back in high school, being a fan of the sport myself and everything. And when I eventually made the leap to media, I understood that at some point I've stopped being a fan, stopped rooting for guys and things like that, and take that fan hat off and be objective and state the facts and, do my job without bias and, follow this rule, because that's an important part of the media, is not having favorites. And, Robbie's around my age, I believe, something like that. Full disclosure, I'm about 22 years old. I think I saw somewhere that he was around my age, and if I'm incorrect, then so be it. But what I do have to say about that is, at my age, I struggle quite often in terms of being seen as professional, as being seen as a legit member of the media, as being seen as, kind of up there with everybody else. And, and I work hard to have this image of professionalism. And, when I see someone that's around my age that does stuff like that, it also gives us a bad rep, man. I mean, and that's just not trying to attack nobody. I mean, first of all, shout out to Nick Baldwin, who manages to be even younger than me, and he's working full-time in MMA, and he's been killing it for years. And so shout out to people like him, man, that do a great job, and that do a great job representing the younger people that are covering this sport as well. Like I mentioned, when you're at this event, even if your gimmick is I'm the Conor McGregor fanboy MMA journalist, you can't do that, man. That's unprofessional. That's a problem. It's in the guidelines that you can't do it. And you're at an event representing your outlet, representing yourself. And at the end of the day, people see you as MMA Media. And things like this, man, that's one step forward, two steps back. It's against the rules. You're making yourself look bad. You're making your outlet look bad. You're making the rest of the media members look bad. Big talking point also brought on by Anthony Walker. Got a lot of pushback, which, I disagree with all the pushback. I mean, what is there to argue? People were coming at him because he was saying that people like Josh Gross, the good people at Bloody Elbow, they can't even get credentials. They can't even go out and cover these events. And this guy, gets to do it, which is not a shot against him. I mean, obviously, if you get credentials, I mean, good for you, man. I'm rooting for you. I promise you I am not rooting against anybody. But when you look at the good professionals who can't get credentials, and then you have someone that does get the credentials and that does something like this, it's a problem. It's a talking point. It's a problem. And this isn't a video attacking nobody, but you have to talk about it. It is a problem. And this isn't a video that's made out of jealousy or anything like that. I don't care, man. I'm one of those people, man. I'm not about pushing anybody down to bring myself up. I'm definitely against that. But when somebody does something unprofessional that makes everybody look bad and that's clearly against the rules, we have to talk about it. People always get on us media for, coming at fighters like, oh, you guys are too harsh, blah, blah. We do that, but, man, when the media fucks up, we got to come after them too. And in this case, it's not so much the media because, man, the media itself did a great job, even that press conference. And I wish I had the journalist's name that asked about the sexual assault, but, man, kudos to him. Did a great job. And I thought the way he structured the question was very good because he asked about the sexual assault, but also managed to make it relate to the fight in a way that it wasn't just like a random question that, he asked the question, but also had follow-ups that made it make sense. So I thought the media overall did a great job, but this event was something with Robbie Fox. Thought it was very unprofessional. After the fight, he was dapping up John Kavanaugh. Hey, great job, man. We did it, blah, blah. Come on, man. That is such a bad look. It is such a bad look. I mean, it really is. I mean, as media, I feel like we're all fighting to be seen as legit, be seen as professional. Things like this just set everybody back, man. It really does. And I don't care what outlet you're with. I don't care what your gimmick is. I mean, when I talk about gimmicks, everybody always talks about the schmo and everything. But you know what? Give the man credit. You can't say that he's biased towards anyone. He dresses professionally for every event to the point where it's got people talking like, what on earth is this guy wearing? But he's dressing professionally. So what he does is out there. But you know what? At the end of the day, can you say it's unprofessional? Not the same way that this video was. So I have issue with it. I'm making this video to talk about it. It relates to me personally as a young media member and as a media member itself. And I know it was a talking point on Twitter on Sunday, and I'm making this video so we can bring it to light, so we can talk about it. It's something that I disagree with. Now, in the spirit of not coming after anybody, I think Robbie does a great job with a lot of his content. I mean, I know he did a few podcasts with Dana White, which everybody gave him a lot of credit for, said he did a great job and everything. I mean, there's no doubt you're making great content. I mean, there's no doubt that I'm sure he's a great guy and everything, but when things like that happen, you have to say something about it. With that being said, I host a podcast every Wednesday/Thursday where we debate topics and everything. I mean, if you watch this video and he's, thinking, who the fuck is this guy? We've got an open invitation to join me, and we can go back and forth. I mean, I'm someone, if I say it on Twitter, if I say it on video, whatever, I'm going to back it up. I'm going to say it in person. If I say it, I own it. And that's why I'm making this video. So, with that being said, kind of my closing thoughts. I disagree with what we saw this weekend because of how unprofessional it was and how bad it makes everybody look. Nothing personal, nothing against anybody, but I feel like things like this shouldn't be happening in 2020. The sport has come so far, and as media, we have to hold ourselves to a certain standard. So it's unfortunate, and I hope we don't see anything like that again. With that being said, please subscribe to the channel, and let me know what you thought.